What's up? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and on the phone line, the one and only Scott Ferrall is live on the show. What's going on, bro?
Hoppe, what's gigging, brother, man? I'm glad you're rocking still, doing great. I see. I'm always rooting for you.
Thank you, man. I'm rooting for you, too. What I've noticed about your show the past few years, I'd say 7 years, and this is what most former radio shock jocks don't do, and I've noticed you've done, is you've completely reinvented yourself and your show.
Yeah, I guess you could say for sure. I mean, I was, if you go back to the Howard Stern days, at Howard 101, I was probably doing the most vulgar, disgusting, dirty, it was heinous. I mean, the show was crazy. It was wild, but it was cool. It was fun. I mean, there was nothing like it. It was unequaled. It was, in terms of, edgy, no one had ever done anything like that on the radio before. And we got it with murder because there was no censorship and all that stuff. To go from that to then back to CBS to do CBS Sports Radio and to do what I call the Vatican Network, like it was like clean, rated G family sports talk, which I think it was, pretty pathetic, to be honest with you. I mean, I thought the show was good. I had to be, smart, and I had to be, clever, and I had to be clean, and I had to be, all business and talk sports. There was really no letting me just go off the rails and freak out and stuff like that. I had to keep it between the lines. I thought it was lame, but, people loved it. They loved it. The network loved it. The suits loved it. The advertisers loved it. But I didn't love it. I thought it was soft. And I just did it because, it was a good job, right? Like, so I got, wife, kids, mortgage, the whole deal. I got a couple kids that are going to go to college here. So I didn't mess around. I did it because it was an opportunity to, have a really good gig and, with great benefits. And I got a pension. I'm in, at the time I was in SAG-AFTRA. It was a union gig in New York. So I paid big bucks to be in that union. And then you get, if you get enough years and tenure, you get bennies out of it and a pension, right? So, and I got all that Hollywood juice too, like all the movies that came out every year. I got to vote for the SAG-AFTRA awards, the Oscars, all that stuff, the best movies and stuff like that. But none of that really mattered to me. I just needed a good gig. Like when I was at Satellite, there was none of that. There wasn't union, there wasn't pension, stuff like that. At my age, that stuff's important, right? So I did a show that was what they wanted, but it really wasn't what I wanted. So to, change again with this opportunity to do Sports Grid TV and Sports Grid Radio, how much I love sports betting. So I took the chance, right? Like I'm like, I was CBS and I had lawyers up my tuchus every day of my life with, the betting was taboo. It was like I was a drug dealer. Everything I did was scrutinized. Everything I said became an issue. The words I used, if I, talked about the NFL and Major League Baseball, all that stuff, they wouldn't let me use their, name and all that. I couldn't. I mean, there were just so many rules, dude. I hated it. I mean, it just sucked. So for me to go to Sports Grid, where all they do is sports betting and fantasy, and they talk about gambling all day, 24/7, 365. I just thought that concept was badass. So I took the gig. And, the guy that stole me from CBS, Lou Mayone, I mean, the guy doesn't mess around. He, offered me a huge deal, and I took it. And, some people are scared to take risks and chances and make moves that are, shocking to their world or their family or anything else. Like taking that gamble is a, nervous way to make a living. But I'm not that guy. Like I love betting and I like sports betting and I like taking chances, and I've built my career around taking risks. I mean, I walked away from $1 million job in the NHL gig I got doing play-by-play from doing national radio in Los Angeles. I was making 10 times what I made doing NHL play-by-play. But like at the time, I was like, I already made a lot of money. I like hockey more than money, so why not go call hockey games and have fun and party? And I did it. You know, when I did MTV, people were like, "You're crazy," and I was like, "I sure am." So watch this. And then I went and did all that, rock and jocks and the summer house and partying naked with chicks and rock stars. I mean, I had more fun than anybody ever. And people didn't like it, but I did, and I was having fun. So I've been a risk taker my whole career. So why not go to Sports Grid?
Were there ever any job offers that you said no to because it seemed like too big of a risk?
I don't know. It's a good question. I can't think of any because everyone that I ever got offered, I took, right? Like I did Battle Dome, which was like American Gladiators. I did Battle Dome with Steve Albert, Marv's brother. And that was that game show where all the athletes tried to kill each other and battled and beat each other to death. And, while they were on wild, spinning machines and, dangerous planks over water, stuff like that. Like all that ninja stuff that they do now today and crazy shows like that where everyone's, risking their lives. So I was the host of that for 3 years, and it was in 300 markets, and it was in Hollywood, and we filmed it. And I mean, we did I think 26 or 33 episodes a year, and I did it for 3 years. So I did like almost 100 episodes, and we shot for like 16-hour days. And it interfered for sure with my Ferrall and Events radio show on CBS and Westwood One in LA at the time. But I was on at 7 to 10 West, 10 to 1 East in New York and LA. So I would shoot all day from 7 in the morning until whatever, 6:30 at night, and then I'd get in my car and speed over to Culver City and sit down and bang out a 3-hour radio show. Nobody liked that I was doing it, but I liked it because A, I made a boatload of money, and B, it was a huge show, and C, all the chicks on the show were so hot, I wanted to sleep with all of them.
How many women, not like number wise, but because you were a famous radio guy, was it decently easy for you to hook up with chicks, or was it hard, surprisingly?
No, it was easy. I had, I was engulfed in hot ass the whole time I lived in Los Angeles. I lived in Huntington Beach, Surf City. You do the math. I mean, I didn't wear very many clothes. I surfed. I skateboarded. I smoked fatties. I chased chicks in G-strings. And, surfer chicks, volleyball chicks, California chicks, blonde, smoking hot, soaking wet, coming out of the ocean and surfing. I mean, what a life. And then in, Hollywood and Los Angeles, the show was huge, my radio show. I was on 250 stations, and I was on the biggest stations in Los Angeles and New York. I was on KLSX in Los Angeles with Howard Stern, and I was on WFAN in New York, and it doesn't get any bigger than that. And so with that came, I guess, money, and the rewards were, it wasn't hard to get tail, put it that way. And I was young and crazy, and I had long hair, and I was, ripped, young, tan, cool. I was happening. The show was number one everywhere. I was working for the same boss as Howard, and that's how they all got to know me. They all knew me from, my years working alongside Howard. I had the same agent, same boss. They syndicated me on the same network as Howard, put me on the same stations as Howard. And then, all those years later, fast forward from, let's say, 94, 95 to 99 when I went to Atlanta to do the Thrasher job. Then I went back to LA in 2000, whatever, then moved to New York. So I've been in New York for 20 years. And when I came to New York, I was working at the Fan and ESPN and et cetera. And then the call came from Howard to join him at Sirius XM. So I went with him, and it was the coolest thing I'd ever done was, finally getting in bed and working with Howard was the coolest gig in the world. I think I've told you that before. It was badass. And I mean, it was just crazy, dude. I was doing shows with, porn stars and and strippers in my studio every day of the week, and it was dirty, and it was it was fun. It was erotica, and it was laughing and crying and partying, and my bosses were partying. Everybody was partying, and people were getting naked. I mean, it was insanity. It was debauchery. So it was really the best 8 years of my life. So it's crazy that I left and went back to CBS and did 8 years of prison time, and then I went to Sports Grid, and now Sports Grid's blown up so big that Sirius XM has picked us up, and we got our own channel 204. So Sports Grid Radio Network starts January 7th, and I call it the takeover. It's like a coup. We went in there. They had a network on there out of Vegas that was on there for a couple of years, and we're just bigger, better, and everyone knows we're badass. We're the number one sports betting network in the world, and we're in bed with FanDuel, and our partners and sponsors are gigantic, and it's making tons of money, and it's distribution now on the TV side, over 150 million. Our radio network is blown up. We're on Sports Map Radio. We're on Sports Byline Radio, Armed Forces Radio. I'm on in Los Angeles and San Diego on Mightier 1090, and now we've got Sirius XM Channel 204. So, I mean, we were just bigger, and so they put us on instead, and we're starting the first week of January, and I'm stoked to be going back to Sirius XM because I've never had more fun in my life than working at that place. It was badass. So I've done all kinds of radio, and most of it's been kind of, it's certainly been fun and funny, and I've done a crazy show, but I think terrestrial has sucked, and I thought satellite was what's up. That's what's up. It was just so much better and freer and more fun and just cooler. Everything about that place is better than what I was doing on terrestrial. Like, I've killed terrestrial in terms of I've done well. I've made a living on it for 35 years. I've done fantastically well. But the bottom line is I never had fun doing it. It was like a job. I mean, the show was funny, and it was good when we were on the air. It was when we were off the air that it was a pain in the ass, with bosses screaming and yelling at me everywhere, and getting in trouble all the time. The FCC up my ass. Everybody out to get me because they thought I was indecent and obscene, and I was a shock jock, whatever you want to call me. But when I went to Sirius, I didn't have to deal with that anymore. It was just cool, and they had parties, and there were a lot of rock stars there, celebrities, movie stars, actors, actresses, athletes going through there. Every day I saw someone new. Like, one day I'd see Oprah, the next day I'd see Tony Stewart, the next day I'd see Benicio del Toro, and then the next day I'd be chilling in the lobby with Metallica. Like, who has a job that cool? I mean, it was the coolest thing ever. So the fact that they are bringing our network, Sports Grid, to Sirius, it gives me, pretty much full wood.
How cool was it that you got to hang out with the king of all media over the years? Because that has to be one of those things where it does not seem real.
Well, I mean, it really wasn't. I guess the coolest thing about it was, I guess, I was really normal with him, right? Like, I'm just a normal dude. I'm not like swinging from his onions like a lot of people do, and they get all caught up in his groove or whatever. I don't do that, man. I'm real. I beat to my own drum, and I respect the hell out of him. I think he's the best ever at what he does. I think he's had the best radio show ever. I think he's the best interviewer ever. I was honored and humbled to be chosen by him to work with him, alongside him on it. But I guess the coolest thing I ever did with him was go to his wedding. I saw him marry Beth, and I'm sitting at a table with like Billy Joel, Barbara Walters, Trump, every rock star in the world and movie star was there. It was just insane. His wedding was insane. And to be around all that juice and power and money and all those famous people at his wedding, that was a trip for me, and it was a trip for my wife, 34C. She didn't know what to think of it. We were just freaking out. Like, the whole thing was it was almost like being in a movie. It wasn't real, right? It was crazy. But I went to a lot of parties with him and a lot of events with him, and we always had fun, right? Like, Howard's a really funny guy, and he's really, cool and normal off the air. He's very amusing and fun to be around, and he'll sit there and joke around with you and joke around with my wife. He gets along great with 34C, and like I've sat with him before and like for an hour and just talked about farting. He's just a guy that's capable of doing that, just spending an hour talking about farting. So anyone that's cool like that, I'm down with. So it was all just like a time warp, man. I can't even describe it. I know the other day he, Marianne from Brooklyn, the crazy chick that calls his show screaming and yelling, "Hello, we're going to you." She announced that I was coming back to Sirius, and Howard freaked out, and he was really excited. And he said, "I love Ferrall, and I haven't seen Ferrall in a long time because it's been like 10 years, right?" So the fact that I'm back there, he was excited to hear that I was coming back to Sirius. And, Robin and Fred and everybody, Baba Booey, my producer, Sizzle, also known as Rasan Rogers. Rasan is on the wrap-up show with Gary and John Hine every day. So he's, made it big with Howard. And he was with me to start his career. And then he left to do Howard when I went to CBS. He went with me to CBS, but he hated it because it sucked. And it was a job. It was no longer fun doing my show. It was more work than it was fun. And our show at Howard was fun. So he's like, "This sucks, I'm out of here." And he went back to work for Howard, which I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. There's days where I regret leaving, There's days where I think, what have I done? Why did I leave Sirius? Because, the bottom line is that when I was leaving, the writing was on the wall that Howard was going to change the channels, and it was going to become more about him, and it wasn't going to be about like Ferrall or anything else. With the 1 hour shows like the King of All Blacks or any of the shows they did, the comedy shows they did, Jackie the Joke Man shows they did, or Beetlejuice or Underdog Lady, whatever the hell it is. All these guys, Just the Drunk, all those shows went away, right? They all went away because he brought in new management, and the new management changed everything. They got rid of all those shows. So I think they would have gotten rid of me too because they started talking to me about changing channels. And once they started talking to me about changing channels, I was like, I don't want to change channels. I want to stay on Howard 101. And they're like, "We want you to move to, like Mad Dog Radio. Why don't you meet with him and talk to him about doing a show for him?" And I was like, "Yo, I'm out of here. See ya. I know what's happening here. This is going to end is what's going to happen." So I made a call, and I asked CBS if they wanted to syndicate my show again, and they said yes. I cut a deal with them, and I left. And when I was leaving, Sirius offered me a lot of money to stay. And, I'll be honest with you, Hoppe Hour, I should have taken it because I probably would have had, happiness in my life doing the show at Sirius if I would have stayed and done something new with them as opposed to going back to CBS because, A, CBS was, bunk, and B, after, 8 years of kicking ass and taking names on CBS, they offered me like the worst contract I had been offered in my entire career last year at this time, like right at Christmas time, 2 weeks before Christmas, they made me an offer, which was just unacceptable to me. And then I refused to sign it. I told them I wasn't going to sign it. I said, "I'm not doing it." They're like, "Yeah, you are." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Yeah, you are." And I'm like, "Watch this, Mother Fereller." And I quit. And I just quit. And I signed a deal with Sports Grid, and I don't regret it. You want to play hardball with me? Well, I can rope a double or triple into the gap if that's what you really want. And that's what I did. What happens? Most people don't have something on the side. They don't have another gig lined up, and they don't have another opportunity as good as I did on the table. And so when you're forced to take a pay cut or a crappy deal because you have nothing else and you're going to have, no job, you'll be unemployed, won't be able to feed your family, pay your bills, pay your mortgage, whatever, then you have no choice but to sign it. But I had choices. So lucky for me, I guess because of who I was or my 35 years of kicking ass on the radio, I had people that wanted me. So luckily I had the Sports Grid offer and I took it and I quit and I never looked back and they didn't like it. I know they were mad, but I don't care what they think. I don't do my show for them. They just pay me. I don't, I'm not sleeping with any of them. I don't care what they think of me. In fact, the guy that this whole thing happened under, the boss, the suit, the power, the juice, the guy that was in charge of my deal, he was a dick, and he wanted to be, difficult, and so he wanted to be, Mister, I'm Chuck in charge, and I said, well, watch this, Flick. So he thought he was going to show me, and instead I taught him a lesson in be careful who you mess with. So bottom line is that's what happened. No one ever denies it, and no one ever refutes it at that place because they know that's exactly what happened. They tried to give me a crappy deal, and I didn't take it, and I signed a deal to leave and do Sports Grid. Look, I did it because I want to do sports betting talk. I want to be on TV. I want to do what I'm doing now. I didn't do it just to cause problems or be difficult or be a pain in the ass. I did it because it was a better opportunity, and they offered me a lousy deal, and Sports Grid offered me a way better deal and a fantastic deal, and I took it. It was real simple. It's like it'd be like you, Hoppe Hour. If you were doing the show down there and somebody came along and said, we'll pay you double to do it over here, my guess is you're definitely going to consider taking the job for more money. That most people do, right? And then what player in sports, signs a deal that's, crappy? They all want bigger deals. They all want better deals. They all want supermax deals and everything else. No one signs a crappy deal unless you're stupid. So I wasn't signing it, and then I signed a great deal. So who's the sucker? So I know that people there didn't like the way I handled it, but I handled it exactly how they do it. They're ruthless in everything they do, and I'm better at being ruthless. How you like them apples?
Now, with Sports Grid, what's the biggest difference with being on TV? Do you have to dress better? Do you have to present yourself differently? What's the biggest difference when the visual aspect is involved?
Well, I have to wear a sport coat every day. I'm on in afternoon drive 4 to 6 on TV all over the country, and I'm on every OTT platform in the world: Roku, Sling, Plex, Zumo, Stir, Apple TV, Samsung TV, Vizio TV. I'm on all these OTTs and streaming services, which have taken over the world. As you know, everybody's streaming shows now, and that's the way people watch TV and movies. So it's the future. So I'm on TV every day, everywhere. So I have to look sharp. I have to wear a blazer or a sport coat, and no big deal. At first when I started doing it, I went in and I was on the set, and I was like, putting on makeup and stuff like that, because I've done a lot of TV over the years. And when you're in the lights, you have to wear makeup, otherwise you get the shine face and everything going. But I'm pretty, I'm a basketball player, dude. I'm not into makeup, and I don't wear pants. I wear shorts. I don't wear shoes. I wear flip flops. I wear shorts and flip flops in blizzards. I don't wear shoes. I don't wear boots. I don't wear socks. I just play basketball. It's the only time I wear socks is when I'm balling. So when they told me, Scott, go to makeup, I was like, yeah, listen, I'm just not going to wear makeup. Okay. So I don't even care if my face is shiny, and I don't care if you don't like it either. I'm just, every day they make you sit in a makeup chair and do all this nonsense. So I just don't do it. I just go in, I put a blazer on, cool shirt, and then I rage. At 4 o'clock, I rage for 2 hours. And then at 10 at night when I do the Ferrall on the Bench radio show, the TV show is called Coast to Coast, 4 to 6 East. The radio show is Ferrall on the Bench, entirely different show. It's in game. It's when all the games are being played, when the Thursday night football's on, Monday night football's on, NBA's on, NHL's on, baseball's on. We just go through all the games as they happen. We bet on them as they happen. In the middle, we do in-game betting, and we're crazy, and we're screaming and yelling at refs and freaking out on the air, and it's really cool. The TV show is really before the games, previewing the games, making picks, interviewing athletes, owners, GMs, coaches, actors, actresses, analysts, play-by-play guys. We interview people, and we get people ready for the night's games and the action and everything that's going on that you can bet on, right? And the radio show is kind of in-game as it happens. So they're entirely different. And when I do the radio show at night, it's also on TV. It's on YouTube TV, so people can watch it while I do the radio show, or you can just listen on the radio, on Sports Grid Radio, on all affiliates, and on the Sports Grid Radio app. So I just do it with a t-shirt on and shorts. I don't get dressed up for that. The radio shows, just let your hair down, be loose, wear whatever you want. But on TV, I have to wear the sport coat and a nice shirt. So I try to keep it cool and look fresh. When I got the job, I went out, I bought like 10 sport coats, 10 different colored sport coats, and I knew what I was getting into, so I had to have the right attire. So it's all gravy. I don't worry about it. I wear the sport coat for 2 hours, and the minute the show's over, I take it off, and I'm in basketball clothes. Everybody knows, like, today I had to go do a photo shoot for SiriusXM, and I called the guy up, and I said, like, I don't have to wear pants or anything, right? And the guy's like, no, you don't have to wear pants. Because I don't wear pants anywhere. So I walked into this photo shoot, and I had 2 different suits, like 5 different shirts, 3 different pairs of glasses, blah, blah, blah. And then underneath, I was wearing basketball shorts and flip-flops. And everybody's like, look at this guy. What's wrong with him? He's got a suit on, but he's wearing shorts. And I really don't give a rat's ass when anybody thinks of what I look like. So I'm in the middle of the FanDuel Sportsbook in the Meadowlands. There's 1,000 people in there betting, and I'm in there with shorts on and a suit on top and shorts on the bottom. So it is what it is, but you definitely have to, that's the secret. In TV, if you look, a lot of guys will be on and you see them with the suit and tie on and the pretty hair and makeup, and then underneath the desk, they have like sweats on or shorts on, and, flip-flops or whatever, because they only show you from the, torso up.
Now, what do you do when it's a slow news day? How do you fill 2 hours of content if there's not much going on?
Well, the hardest one to do was the 10 months of, COVID, when there was no sports. It was really hard. But I got like 2 guests per show, 1 an hour, and I have them on for probably 2 segments. So somewhere between 10 minutes on one segment, 14 minutes on the other. So I had about, 24 minutes with them of the hour. And the rest of it, we just, funneled in stories of sports and things that are going on of importance. Anything that was like major headlines that were of the national essence, I would run with. And then what we do is we go through all the stories and I react to them. So if there's a story, we tell you what the story is, and then I start flipping out about it and ranting and raving about what I think of it, and get everybody going on the set. So like my producer lobs me the questions and I go off. So I also bounce back and forth with him. And then, you get the 2 guests, 1 an hour. So you're looking at, you try to kill a half an hour with interviews and you try to kill the rest with stories. So I never really had a problem. I won't deny it was difficult when there was no sports at all to talk about for like 8, 9 months. That sucked. But, I'm a pro. I've done it for so long. I just knew I had to fill it with content of, topics and stories and anything interesting at all that a national audience could gravitate to. So that's what I did. But now that sports is, full bore and, everything's happening, the NFL, college football, bowl games, football playoffs coming, NBA starts next week, NHL starts mid-January, baseball will start in probably, they're saying now maybe May, but they're going to get it on one way or the other. And then everything else has happened. Even they had the Masters, they had the PGA Championship, blah, blah, blah. So they had the Kentucky Derby, they had, the Indy 500. They just changed all the dates. So now that there's sports, there's just gargantuan amounts of sports events going on. College basketball is still happening. I know they're having all kinds of problems with it. And, I'm sure the NBA is going to have problems with COVID until the vaccine gets to enough people. So, that's not normal people aren't getting that vaccine until May, June, right? So now it's all old people and essential workers and medical professionals and people that are in the hospital and, whatever. So I think that, the NBA is going to struggle with guys getting it and games being postponed, canceled, whatever. But at the end of the day, and there's so much sports now going on that, really doing the shows on TV and radio are pretty easy because it's just endless amounts of stories and games. So when there's games, then we're betting on them and Sports Grid's talking about them. So it's pretty easy.
Now, if people want to check out your show, how can they listen and why should they check out your 2 shows? Well,
the shows are kick-ass. So I mean, they're just, lightning. They're just, raging and fast and fun and funny. And, a lot of shows are great. People are on TV doing their thing. I get it. They're at, a lot of, I think a lot of debate shows. Everybody's arguing sports and trying to be smart. And I'm smarter than you. I know more than you and all this. And that doesn't appeal to me. We talk about everything that's going on in sports, and we make fun of people, and we abuse people, and we laugh at people, and we laugh at ourselves, and we make fun of ourselves, and we're self-deprecating. We are hilarious. When we hear coaches, blowing smoke up our tuchus, we know to call them out, and we make fun of them, and we joke a lot about people's interviews and comments and quotes, and when they're talking and they do interviews, we abuse them when they're full of it. So the shows are really funny, and the radio show, when we go on Sirius XM January 7th, people are going to find out channel 204. Program it in your Sirius radio, because on January 7th, I'm going on every night at 10 to 12, and then I'll also be on at 4 to 6 in the afternoon, and then 10 to midnight East, both 4 to 6 East, 10 to midnight East. The 4 to 6 show on TV will also be on the Sirius XM. So everything on the TV side on Sports Grid TV is on the radio too. So the radio show's on, so is the TV show. So they're both going to be on. So I'll be on at 4 to 6. I'll be on at 10 to midnight. Then they're going to rerun the 4 to 6 TV show at 3 to 5 in the morning before, the morning drive show starts at 5 a.m. So I'll be on Sirius XM 3 times a day. You can listen on channel 204. That's badass. Until then, you can listen wherever you are to radio affiliates. You can go on sportsgrid.com and see all the stations. Or you can just download the Sports Grid radio app. It works, Gandhi. It's perfect. You just download it free and then click listen, and it works. And then the Sports Grid app is the TV app, and that works perfect too. You just download it free and then click watch, and then you're off and running, and it comes in perfectly in HD. Those are the easiest ways to listen. The Sports Grid app on TV, the Sports Grid radio app for the radio side, and the radio app carries the TV show as well. You just can't see me doing it. But the Sports Grid app itself, the TV app, you can watch the show on your phone. You can listen to it on your phone with the Sports Grid radio app. So there's a million ways you can watch us. You can watch me on all those OTTs I mentioned, the Rokus, the Slings, etc., Apple TV, whatever. And then, you can go on YouTube every night at 10 p.m. and search Sports Grid Radio, and you'll see me doing the show right on YouTube. So, there's a million ways you can watch and listen. It's really easy.
Now, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you, so I like to listen to old clips of Neil Rogers online. There's like a website that has every show ever, and I came across one where you guys were off air and you and Neil did an internet show. So what was it like getting to work with a legend like Neil Rogers?
Well, that was the best 22 minutes. I know what show you're talking about. That was the day the station got knocked off the air by a lightning bolt. It hit the tower, and the station went off the air. And so Neil and I went back in the back, and we went and did an internet radio show, right? We did, I think 22 minutes or something like that. I've heard that clip, and it really is, honestly, the greatest 22 minutes ever that I've ever done with anyone. It was so funny. I know you've heard that clip. It was so ridiculous and raw and dirty and raunchy, and he was so abusive on it, making fun of people. And, everything. Farting. It was racial. It was everything. It was the most abusive 22 minutes you've ever heard in your life. He just goes off on people. Now, I have to tell you, they're the two greatest people I ever worked with are Howard Stern and Neil Rogers. Neil was the funniest guy I've ever met. I think Neil's funnier than Howard. And Howard knows how great Neil was. Howard knew all about Neil Rogers. Neil was one of the greatest radio hosts in the history of the sport. The guy knew how to entertain like no other. He was an institution in South Florida. For 20 years, he was number one in every single book. You name it, every ratings book that came out for 20 years, the guy was number one. He crushed everyone. And the funny thing is that about 80% of people listened to hate him. They just hated him and they wanted him dead. He was so mean and funny and ruthless toward, groups, whether it was the blue hairs. He went after them. He went after every race. He went after, blacks, Asians, women, gays, straight, lesbian. He went after everybody. And he was gay. So he was like the funniest gay guy you ever met in your life. He loved me, and I loved him. He was the greatest guy. He was a gigantic hockey fan. He lived in Toronto and went to Leafs games. He had Panther season tickets in South Florida. He used to let me use his seats all the time because he was never there. He was never in South Florida. He always did the show, for the most part, in Toronto. And then, like once in a blue moon, like in the winter, he would come down to Miami and do the show. When the weather was nice in Miami, in the winter, he would come down and do it for a couple months. But most of the year he lived in Toronto. He used to have a car collection, like of Corvettes, and the guy literally collected Corvettes. He had like 10 or 12 of them. And he used to let me drive his Corvettes around. The guy was the coolest dude. He'd be like, here, take my Corvette for the weekend. And I'd have all these different Corvettes he'd let me drive. And gave me hockey tickets. I knew him. I knew his boyfriend. I just thought the world of him. And he's literally the funniest guy I've ever done radio with. Every day was such a joy being on QAM with Neil Rogers. It really was just the most amazing time of my life working with him. And when he died, I was just devastated. It just killed me. I've lost a lot of friends over the years, and I've lost my parents. I've had friends die of everything, cancer, you name it, car wrecks. I've had everyone, heart attacks. I've had everything. I've been to 5 million funerals, but I've never been more depressed or devastated at a loss of when Neil Rogers died. It killed me. No pun intended. I've never been the same without him. I used to just adore the guy. Working with him was just, it was a pleasure and a joy and a trip. It was just the greatest person I've ever met in my life. Like, he was so funny, man. I've never met anyone with a personality like that, and the humor and how he could make fun of people. I idolized him. I just thought the world of him, and the world's never been the same without him. And what's great about him is like you said, you listen to all those clips. There's websites dedicated to his, library of work, and he really was. I think, it's for me, it's Howard and Neil Rogers, and they're the two best I've ever been around. And for sure, a guy I miss every single day. I love Neil. God rest his soul. Coolest dude ever. I never thought that when I met him, I never thought that I just thought he was really good at what he did. I never thought I'd become such great friends with him. And his producer, George Rodriguez, just died recently, unfortunately. Dropped dead, young guy, like, my age, 55. I think he was 60. He died recently, and I just couldn't believe it. I can't believe I lost both of them. And, George was really cool. I smoked a lot of weed with him. He was just the greatest guy. We'd smoke tons of chronic after we got off the air and, go to the beach and chill. And he was just a really cool dude, too. And I couldn't believe he died. He had a great daughter and was the nicest guy ever. Great producer. One of the best producers in radio I've ever been around, George Rodriguez. And both of them are gone, and it really sucks bad, Ryan. I got to tell you, when you lose iconic people like that and people that you've worked with that mean something to you, it really sucks.
What do you think, when it's all said and done, what is your legacy going to be in radio and TV?
Who knows, dude? I'm not much, Mr. Awards and Hall of Fame and, the accolades. And, I've got a lot of enemies in, the radio business and, critics, the magazines and the industry insider stuff and trades. I've made fun of them all over the years that, I think one year when I was on Westwood One in Los Angeles, I was rated like the number 2 radio show in America, and behind Howard, and I was like, I think Talkers or something rated me like the heavy 100 or something, and I was like, at the time I was so young and dumb and stupid and high and everything, I didn't really care, and I was like who reads that? Like, I've never heard of it. I go, it's just, no one reads that magazine. it's just, it's meaningless. Like, who cares what they think of me? So then, like, from that point forward, in my career, I've never been acknowledged by them or anybody else. I said I don't need awards to be, matter or to have like a career or be great at what I do. I think I've been great at doing radio for a long, long time and at a high level. I've been nationally syndicated for 30 years, for Christ's sake. So, like, I must be doing something right if I've been on national radio for 30 years. But I know a lot of those critics and trades and all those, radio geniuses and experts that run the business, I guess, behind the scenes of radio, don't like me. And I really don't care that they don't like me. So I don't live my life for radio critics or TV critics or media critics or magazines or Hall of Fames or awards or, I've been offered to do a book like about 100 times at least about my career. And I've always said nobody wants to read a book about me. I mean, really? Like, who's really going to read a book about me? Everyone I know writes a book, and they're all stupid. Like, who cares about some radio dude? I'm going to write a book. I've always said, like, you don't matter that much. Like, I never felt like I mattered that much to write a book about myself and talk about how wonderful I am. I don't look at it that way. I try to do a show every day and entertain people and be kick-ass and show up and produce and make no excuses. And I'm always there for my audience. Nationally, I've given them every ounce of blood and sweat and tears over the years. I give them everything I got every night. I've never shortchanged my audience. The only thing that mattered to me in radio, Ryan, was my audience. I don't care about anything else. I don't need to be glorified or dignified or remembered for anything other than hopefully people will say that dude was kick-ass. That dude was unbelievable. What a freak. That guy was crazy. I'm good with that. If they just say he was crazy, that dude, he was nuts. That show was kick-ass. That's good enough for me. I don't need anything else because when you're gone, none of it's going to go with you anyway. So you can have all the awards you want. I'd rather be happy and be cool and enjoy doing it and put a smile on people's faces and make people laugh. And if I've done that, then I've done what I get paid to do. And people are still giving me paychecks, so apparently I'm doing something right. But anything else, I guess, is just void to me. I don't see what it gets you, but I guess some people live for that stuff. That's cool. I appreciate it if that's what you want and that's what you dig in life is to be rewarded with honors and glory and Hall of Fames and stuff like that and be recognized for that. And that's great. Go for it. Have at it. Like, that's fantastic. You get all them trophies on your mantle. I'd really rather make people happy and make people laugh and make people think and joke around and dig it and be a part of it and participate in it and get their rocks off. That does more for me every day, 6 weeks till Sunday.
Now, what is your audience like? If a person were to ask what your audience is like, how would you explain them and break them down?
Well, I think they're, it's over the years, it's been weird because it was, in the beginning, it was 18 to 34 for sure when I was young and when I was in my 20s. And then when I was in my 30s, it was kind of, I think 18 to, 54. It started growing. I still had the young 18 to 34, but I also had the 25 to 54. Then when I got into my, 40s, I think it was more, I'd say 34 to, 65 type crowd, in that realm, like, people that are, I think, out of school, have a job, have a family, have kids, they drive to work, they work overnight, whatever, they listen to me, and they dig it. And then now, I think it's, all walks, all ages, anyone that likes betting, anyone that likes action, anyone that, goes to the window or that, likes to bet on sports, I think they all dig me. I know young kids that love me, and I know old men that love me. I know 85-year-old guys that listen to me. I know 75-year-olds that watch me every day, never miss a show. So it's weird. Back in the day when they first hired me, CBS and Westwood One, Infinity, Mel Karmazin, with Howard Stern and put me on all those stations with Howard. The goal was for me to get the 18 to 34 or Generation X. That was the goal. That was their mission. The Wall Street Journal said I was Generation X's Howard Cosell on September 5th of 1995. They wrote that on the front page story about me doing the show on Westwood One in Los Angeles. They said my job was to get the 18 to 34 and bring the young audience to radio, and I did that. But as I got older, I evolved. You know what I mean? So I'm still cool. I think that's the difference. Like, you know, most people get old and they get curmudgeon-y and they get, you know, grouchy and bitchy and kind of weak. And I never did that. Like, I mean, obviously I got older. I'm a double nickels now, 55, but I'm still balling 5 days a week with 30-year-olds and playing with young guys. And I'm getting up and down and I'm banging and I'm scoring and I'm finishing. And, you know, I still do a lot of young things, surf, skateboard. I'm still cool. My kids think I'm cool. My kids are in high school. They think I'm a badass because I'm not like a dork. I'm not like a old nerdy parent. I'm not like a, you know, grouchy old man. Get off my yard. I don't do any of that. I'm hip. And I'm still fun to be around and to hang out with and to watch sports with or to go places with, go to dinner with or go out to games or, you know, concerts. I still go see a lot of metal shows. I go see my friends. I went to see Guns N' Roses and I go see Metallica, and I've gone to a million shows and, you know, sporting events. And, you know, I think staying cool and staying, you know, fun, you can still do all that stuff and I guess be old. You know, I'm 55, dude. It's no joke. Like, it's not like, you know, at best, what do I got, 30 years left? If I'm lucky, I could die tomorrow. So, I mean, I try to live life on the edge every day and make the most out of every day and enjoy and suck it up and live it up. I don't have any like old bones in me. I don't lay around like you know, an old fart and do nothing, man. I'm up and rocking every day, and I'm a terror, bro. I'm lit. So, I mean, all I do is work out and ball and hang out, and then I do these shows, and I'm super busy, so I stay real active and crazy. And I think that's kept me kind of, you know, young at heart. I'm definitely older, and I've, you know, aged and lost hair and stuff like that and whatever, but I'm still, I think, pretty much a badass to hang around. So most of my friends like me, and most of my kids that I'm around, all their friends are caught up in my buzz. So, you know, they all think that, you know, Ferrall's pretty cool. That, you know, my kids, their friends say that, you know, I'm the coolest of all the dads. So lucky for me, I'm still kind of hip. At least that's what I've been heard and told. So from my fans and my kids and the people around me. So I know it's not easy getting old, dude. I don't know how long I'll do it. You know, I mean, I've always said I never wanted to be like these guys that do it when they're 70 and 75 years old, still doing radio and TV shows. I mean, there's guys doing play-by-play now in sports that are 80 years old, 81 years old, guys that just never put down the mic. I don't think that's what I want in life, you know. I think I want to be like, you know, maybe 10 years from now, I want to be surfing and smoking a fatty and living somewhere sunny and warm and fun and get in the water and ride some waves. I'm not interested in the snow. I had a foot of snow yesterday, a blizzard in New York City. It sucks. So I'd rather be surfing, and I'd rather be an old man sitting in a chair on the beach looking at chicks in bikinis until I'm dead and they put me in the ground.
Well, dude, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. I look up to everything you've done in radio, and I'm glad to have known you over the years.
Hoppe Hour, you know I love you, brother, man. It's always fun to hook up with you and catch up. I'm so proud of you. I think it's great what you're doing. You kick ass, take names, market yourself well. I know you love doing it. I've never seen anyone work harder. That's why I always keep coming back and hanging out with you. So keep tearing it up, dude. And you know I'm on your side always. If there's anything I can do for you, I always will. And I think you're doing fantastic. You're a badass. You're a cool dude. And I appreciate you a lot. And keep killing it, man. And I always thank you for having me on. It's fun.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. Keep up the good work, Scott.
Hey, listen, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Drink a shot of JMO and smoke a fatty. And let's get over this COVID and get back to normal life. I love you, Hoppe Hour. Keep
love you, bro.
And taking names, bro.
All right. Peace out, dude.
See you, man.